4 Degrees to the Streets is designed to empower anyone curious about places and spaces, not just persons with professional degrees or backgrounds. Here we will cover a host of topics, including transportation, health, housing, and the environment through the lens of racism, classism, and sexism, and give listeners the tools they need to overcome institutional barriers. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the 4 Degrees Pod, and tune in every other Tuesday where Nimo and Jas keep it 4 degrees to the streets. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 4 Degrees to the Streets podcast. What did Aaliyah say? Or was it Timbaland? It's been a minute since I left you. I'm not getting the lyric right. But you thought we were gone with our last episode. But we're back to just talk about season 4. This was like our 4 Degrees to the Streets, 4 seasons. I think this was a really special season. So we wanted to do a special bonus episode to reflect on all of our accomplishments since we started the podcast almost 4 years ago. And everything that we accomplished in the last few months. But before we get started, I do have an announcement. I will be taking a break, or a hiatus, as some may call it, from the podcast starting in season 5. And so, as a lot of our listeners know, we start our season in the fall and we run until the springtime, so about this time. So you all will not see me for the next year. But feel free to, enjoy the content. And you all are obviously in great hands with Jasmine, as she will continue to hold the torch for season 5. But how are you doing today, Jasmine?
I am unwell.
We were talking before. Thank you for the honesty, because we were talking about a lot before we got on here.
Well, I'm gonna be fine over all that, but I'm unwell because I'm gonna miss Nemo in season 5. Was and has been a really great season for us. 4 years is a very long time to be doing a podcast. And we'll see where life takes us. But season 5 will begin in November-ish of 2024. It will be just me. We're never just, but it's just me and a bunch of special guests. And so keep up to date with us on our social media pages. And as always, you can re-listen or listen for the first time to previous episodes. Want to get into some highlights for the season.
Yes, well, I will miss recording with you as well. It seems like it's far away, but even it's just, we were talking about like 6 months ago was like September, October. We hadn't started season 4 yet. And then this season was longer than the others. Like, we produced more episodes, did more things. We were definitely in production mode, but it went by fast. So perhaps the break will go by fast too. But just to take it back to a wider view, in the last 4 years, we've had over 10,000 downloads. And so if you put that in context, we have a little over 40 episodes now. So, 40 episodes, over 10,000 downloads. That's a lot of people downloading individual episodes. We've had over 6,000 unique listeners. We have reached 27 countries across the world. And we have, at least for season 5, we had over 1,000 unique listeners and almost 2,000 downloads. Again, in the season, this season we had about 10 episodes, 10, 11 episodes. And so we had 10 times that amount in downloads, if I'm doing that math right. So a lot of listeners from all over the world. And we had a lot of guests this season. So I'll let Jasmine talk about some of the special guests we had.
So starting early in our preseason, which is how we ended up having 11 episodes, we had Veronica Davis on, the author of the recently published book, Inclusive Transportation. And she came to talk to us about her recently released book, which you guys all should go purchase and read. It's a really quick one. It's not a super lengthy book. We had Natasha Dowell on, who works at a CDFI, a community development financial institution down in the Atlanta area, to talk about what CDFIs are doing in the planning and real estate development and public health space. We also had Natalie and Sam from Urban Planning is Not Boring on the show, which was an amazing episode with them talking about transit oriented development. We had Morph Boss on, is how you can find him on TikTok and Instagram. He's a genealogy influencer. And so we talked to him about urban planning and genealogy and all the things related to land loss of indigenous communities. And then we had Kevin Miles on, representative of ULI Urban Land Institute, talking about the urban plan program that operates in schools, middle schools and high schools across the country. And this program is in the Dallas, Texas area. And then finally, we had Kamal Salam on, who is the director of planning for Henry County down in Atlanta. Lots of Atlanta this season. And so those are our guests this year, but we've had lots of guests over the years. And our guests really make the episodes special because they bring a unique perspective different from what Nemo and I will give to you. They come from all different backgrounds. And I love how the conversation always just take us. Like we have our little notes of like what we're gonna ask, and then somebody says something, then we go completely quote unquote off script, but it's always a good time.
Yeah, and I love how over the years that we've had, friends who we invited to become guests, and then we had guests that turned into friends. And so I think that's always been a really beautiful way to build community across the world, and just the simple act of planning the conversation, having the conversation, and how that's been able to grow relationships for Jasmine and I, and hopefully have connected you all to other people too. If you listen to someone, we usually try to have their contact information so you can follow them and get in touch with them and learn from their work too. But looking at this season, we wanted to talk about some of our favorite episodes, and it is tough. As I look at our list, honestly, I think one episode that really inspired me a lot was our interview with Kevin Miles, where we discussed the Urban Land Institute's urban plan program and how he's been able to take, what may be a either one-time classroom activity, or, an after-school event or a special club, and really transform that curriculum throughout his school, and all of the students that have gone on to graduate and pursue careers in urban planning. That was really inspiring to me and reminded me of being a young high school student, discovering urban planning, and sparked a nugget to how I can continue to teach younger generations about urban planning in my day-to-day life and day-to-day work. So that was definitely one of my favorites. And then I think anytime we get to bring pop culture or media into conversations around the built environment is always an interesting conversation. So I definitely enjoyed doing some of the research for the Tyler Perry episode. That was our latest episode. So I was able to like get in nerd mode and detective mode to find out what was going on over there and how those deals shake out. So that was another one of my favorites this season. What about you, Jasmine?
As I look at our episodes, I'm gonna go in line with the same similar theme of you is pop culture and youth. And so we have an episode, Why Aren't Kids Playing Outside, which is our youth and planning episode. The OGs will remember we had a planning for older adults. I think it was called Grown Folks Business in one of our previous seasons. And so this was kind of like a reflective episode on that, which is how to plan cities and communities to be universally effective and safe for people under the age of 18. I thought that was a really good episode because often you plan for like the midline, you plan for like the average quote unquote adult, forgetting that like kids exist in the world also, and like they travel to school and to their part-time jobs and to home and to their friends' houses, and how they travel and move around the world is also very important. And then I always love our in-person episodes, and this was a really fun one. Our impact of the Beyonce Renaissance World Tour, which you can both watch on YouTube, and see Nemo and I looking all good, or you can just listen to it regularly wherever you get your podcast. But I really like that episode because we get to bring in, the same with the Tyler Perry episode, planning and pop culture. And then I'm not necessarily a beehiver, but I do love me some Beyonce. So it's always good to like talk about her and connect it to things that I'm passionate about, which is planning.
And when we weren't recording episodes this season, we were also trying to produce a lot of content on social media to expand upon our episodes, continue to teach listeners who may not have a background in urban planning. And from that, we saw over 200 new followers on Instagram. So if you're listening and you found out about our podcast from social media or Instagram or YouTube, we appreciate you. We appreciate everyone who shares our posts, whether you like, comment, send it to someone who may be interested. That's how we've been able to build our community, and the planning community on social media is definitely a special one, and a special tight knit group, but is always open to new creators coming into the space to share information in the vast world that is planning, real estate, transportation, environment, equity, all the things.
Additionally, outside of episodes, we were active in the real life. Nemo facilitated a panel with Smart Growth America, and I sat on a panel with the women's division of the American Planning Association. And so the podcast was representing planners all over the country, east to west. So this was a really good season, and I'm excited, sad about Nemo's break, looking forward to having her back again soon, but excited about season 5 years, crazy, and everything that will come, and excited about everything that we've already done. I'm sure if you listen to our first episode, you're like, okay, they got better. We got better. So,
When people tell me that they start on the first episode, I'd be like, it's good, but we've gotten so much better. So regardless of where you start, we appreciate you. And on that note, we wanted to keep this recap brief, just hit the main points, and wish you all a, talk to you soon, not a farewell, but we won't be gone too long. And you know where to find us when we return. You can follow us at the number 4 degrees pod on Instagram and X, and we'll drop episodes when you see them.
I'm gonna end it with saying hags. You used to write down the bottom of your yearbooks. Have a great summer. Peace out, y'all.